Hello and welcome to the MHG podcast. As usual, life could be a little bit miserable and life could be a little bit dark. So we're here to bring you hopefully some joy and a little bit of light. Joining me this week as always is Stu. Hi Bradley, how you doing Stu?
Not very bad at all actually, yeah. So I've had a good week because my back problem has been significantly better. And, you know, anyone who's sort of lived with chronic pain, and I always feel like so bad for anyone living in chronic pain, but anyone who lives with chronic pain, you know, it's just such a debilitating thing. It restricts what you can do. It's tiring as well as all the painful, the pain as well. And it seems to be on its way out. And just the relief of feeling that is so good. So I'm hoping everybody listening is happy for me, but also that I can be happy for them because they're seeing the back of pain at the moment as well. That would be great.
Yeah, chronic pain is one of those, I think, that after obviously mental health doesn't get the respect it deserves in a way in terms of people suffering from it. Yeah. Because Lorraine suffers with some chronic pain quite a lot, and because it's like one of those things, like you expect it just to get on with it.
I know, and
it's mental health and chronic pain. It's like, just man up is what they used to say, and it's wrong.
It is completely, yeah. I mean, pretty much everybody has, and it's like you say, because it's so downplayed and you're expected to get on with it. It's kind of like you don't realise pretty much everybody is living with their own version of it in one way or another. There's almost nobody's unscathed, and it's really nice for it to be on the way out, which is good. And yeah, as I say, hopefully other people are feeling better.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know what I've done this week at all. I've kind of just this week's gone by, and I was going, what have I watched? What have I done? What stories could I tell? I've got nothing. I'm sure I've done stuff, but ADHD kind of brain. I've just kind of nothing stuck in my brain, memory-wise.
Yeah.
I did have a weird dream whereby I discovered there was some kind of weird paedophile ring that was watching children through secret webcams, and one of them was watching through a secret webcam that was in one of my previous flats that I lived in, and that they was watching me as a child and stuff like that, but no one believed me, even though there was a DVD in public about it and I was on the DVD.
That's very disturbing.
Yeah, but also, it sounds like if I could turn that into some kind of shitty straight to Netflix movie.
Actually, it is a very good premise for a film. Yeah, get it out there.
No one believed me. I had it on DVD, and every time I tried to play the DVD, there'd be glitches, power cuts, and I think that was the man trying to, suppress me. And I don't know. It was just really weird and very vivid.
That is very weird. That kind of reminds me in a sideways kind of glance at. I think
it's you the paedophile ring.
Yeah, I don't.
That's a joke.
So uncomfortable. A joke.
So okay, that's a joke. For anyone listening, that's pure joke.
God, yes. On Netflix, there's that film. I think it's on Netflix called Unbelievable, which is about somebody. It's content warning. It's about somebody who's abused, and nobody believes them. And that reminded me of that. And that is actually fantastic. It's a really amazing film. Yeah, I'd recommend anyone watching it.
I've seen it yet. I've heard of it and I've seen the trailer. It's one of those I've got to be in the right frame of mind for this one, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty dark. Yeah, you do have to be, but it is really good, definitely.
It's kind of when I first saw. I can't remember what it was called. There was one of those. It starred Joseph Gordon-Levitt before he became really big, but he was being groomed and sexually abused by some adult somewhere, and that was quite a dark film. And I went into it not knowing what it was. It was just that guy that was in Third Rock from the Sun. I was watching it, and it just wasn't what I was expecting. And it's just kind of oh man, that really hit me when I wasn't expecting it to. So I kind of make sure that I'm ready for films that are going to have a certain theme to them.
Yeah, I find that. I'm not just recently, but for a long time. I have to be in the right mood for a film or a book or music. I remember like when I was a kid or when I was young, you'd listen to a sad song or whatever, and you'd just be like, oh, that's a brilliant song, and you'd listen to it, and then you'd listen to some rave, and then you'd listen to some rap, and then you'd listen to some metal, and you'd just be like, yeah, they're good songs. Now I'm like, if I listen to a sad song, it affects me emotionally, like I'm actually a human being. But yeah, I'm exactly the same. I have to portion out where I'm going to watch tough content.
Yeah, but usually they get a massive backlog, and you go, oh, Christ, I'm either going to have to just try and sort of like make sure I watch these on a fairly regular basis to try and get through them, or I'm just going to have like a week of watching shit that's going to just put me on a downer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the question is always, do I watch these hard, difficult things when I'm in a really good mood so that I'm tough enough, or do I watch them when I'm in a really down mood because it can't make me any lower? That's like, that's the question.
Pretty much. And if you did want to feel really low, Stu, there's always the video game industry.
Yeah, I could play an EA game, and then I'd be so self-disgusted that I'd be at my lowest. Yeah.
We do have to say, though, the video game industry, it's shit at the moment. More layoffs than ever before. The corporation's making more money. Nintendo have decided to go after emulation type. So Yuzu's been shut down and Citra's been shut down. Because despite the piracy issue, is not going to make a dent on what their actual sales are. Because generally people who are pirating aren't going to buy your game anyway. We've seen the numbers for that. And a lot of people are using Yuzu to play their purchase games in a much better way on a different system rather than being sort of like hamstrung by the Nintendo Switch. So it sucks for games preservation, but I'm sure Yuzu, as much as Yuzu is dead, it will live on. Industry layoffs, get yourself sorted, right? This is just not right. Well done, Capcom, by the way, who have actually given pay raises across the board to all their staff. So fair enough to them. Also, stop harassing women in the video game space. That'd be nice as well. Because I thought we was done with all that. I thought we'd gone past that, but no, we're in 2024. Harassment of women and minorities in the video game world is still just as prevalent. So, yeah, some good, mostly shit. Welcome to video games, Stu.
I know. It's all symptomatic of a much wider problem, isn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it's if the world has been run fairly well and video games were the one outlier, then that would be one thing. But it does seem to be all part of the collapse of the way that the monetary and capitalist structure is working, and the exploitation of it, and the exploitation of people is always at the core of that, and it's really coming to the fore at the moment. So it's awful. On the whole emulation thing, yeah, I've got really loads of thoughts and conflicting thoughts about it. We'll have to talk about it on one of the podcasts sometime.
Yes. Let's see what happens. Wait for the dust to settle.
Yeah. They're a funny company, Nintendo. Very odd. Very much like Apple, as much as they can be. They sell cheaper hardware than Apple, but other than that, they're very, very similar. They like to hoard their IP. They like to restrict access to things. They like to, they're very much a fortress. And it's like at what degree and when does it start becoming a real problem? And the restricting access to this via Yuzu is not much of a problem, I feel, at the moment. But if they start going after older emulators like they have with Citra, that's starting to be much more of an issue for me. But yeah, we'll talk about it properly in another week. But yeah,
because
it's
emulators and the emulation community, it's like a Hydra, isn't it? Is it Hydra? Are they called Hydras? You cut a head off. Yeah, cut
off one head and regrows.
Yeah. So I've got no worries that we'll have a decent future still with all that stuff, but it's a pain in the arse now. Let's put it that way. On the plus side, Supermodel 2 and 3 are working on Steam Deck now.
That is good.
I know, and I've been playing a bit of Sega Rally, and it's brilliant still.
Oh,
Sega Rally and Sega Rally 2, both are absolutely outstanding. arcade games that you just like. Obviously, arcade games, you don't play them constantly. Like, the idea was you go and put a couple of quid in the machine, you play it, you go hang out or whatever. And they are still perfect for that. I just pop on, have a go, do rubbish, don't matter.
Yeah.
Turn it off, go back, have a better run, another few weeks later, whatever, don't matter. Brilliant, still play really well. And the fact it's on EmuDeck, you haven't got to worry about getting all the controls sorted yourself because they've done it all for you.
So good.
That's the good side of emulation.
It's such a I mean, we covered it in our Sega special a time ago, but it's held up so well. I mean, there's just nothing quite like it, and Sega Rally and even Sega Rally 2 to a certain degree, and they're so good. Sega were on unbeatable form at that time, and perfect games.
I even had a quick go of Sega Touring Car Championship, and do you know what? It's a bit flaky compared to Sega Rally, but it's still fun because that's what Sega did back then. Fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of those, you don't have to go, well, is this going to entertain me after another 8 hours and therefore it's a value proposition? You're not asking questions like that. Like you said, it's an arcade style experience. If you get something out of it from the initial play, you're doing well. So they were on top form.
Yeah. I mean, I generally play it, don't complete all the levels because the bigger boys come around and tell me to get off despite me putting my money in because they're taking my money. So, I get that experience at home because I do that and the kids go, my go.
Oh, lovely.
So, you get the bullies there as well. It's the perfect experience. All I need is like someone to start smoking and, we've got everything sorted.
I was going to say that. Yeah, you need to have a sticky carpet and you need to start stubbing out fags on inappropriate surfaces, and then you're there.
The carpet's sticky, it's filthy. We got like one living room that acts as everything room, including like my bedroom at times. So that's not why it's sticky, because it's my bedroom, by the way. That's going down the wall. It's food and that dropped on the floor constantly and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad you qualified that because
I had to because people would have had images in their head. Talking of images in your head, video games, Stu. I've double segued because we went off track a bit. What have you been playing?
Yeah, well, I've been playing a couple of games this week, and just because I've had a cascade of stuff recently, quite luckily, and it's been good. And the first one I've been playing that was very enjoyable is a game called VERZEUS or VERZEUS. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Oh, come on, should we do like professional? Let's not like stumble over names.
I've
never seen me do that.
I'm giving several options. You see, that's what I'm doing. I'm providing options to the populace. Let's go with VERZEUS. So VERZEUS is a side-scrolling shooter, and it's done in the style of a Game Boy game, original Game Boy. And why, you might ask? Well, yes. That's a good question. The thing with Game Boy shoot-em-ups, and a lot of Game Boy sort of platformers and all that, is because it had such a small screen and a low resolution, all the sprites were tended to be very, very big, and the size of the screen and the size of the enemies and the size of their weapons, the bullets and stuff in shoot 'em ups particularly, were very big. So when you get like a very small screen space, very crowded, and you have a high octane game like a shoot 'em up, you have to dial down things like the collision detection a little bit. You have to make the speed and the quantity of the bullets less. So if you look at like Gradius from decades ago, it a much chunkier game. The Parodius version on the Game Boy, much chunkier, less happening on screen, but still just as frantic because it's a very small screen space. Now I think that's probably why they've picked to use this old aesthetic, because it certainly doesn't look pretty. It is absolutely fugly, as most Game Boy games tend to be, because you've got that monochrome screen. But it's quite interesting because it's patterned a lot after Gradius, and to a lesser extent R-Type, more like Last Resort on the Neo Geo, but hardly anyone will have played that. So what you're going along side scrolling, you can pick up power ups, you can pick up what they're called kind of floating balls that go around your ship, like you do with a lot of shoot 'em ups. The quirk with it is that you can, like with Gradius, like you pick up a token and then it will push along this bar at the bottom and you press the button to select which weapon you want. This does it the same similar kind of a way, but it's just that as the power up stays on the screen before you pick it up, it cycles through types. So you collect it when you want it. And there's a couple of quirks with that. One is that you can often get a lot of them on the screen at once, meaning selecting the correct token can be hard, and therefore, you want to have vertical firing so you can shoot things on the cavern ceiling, and you've just picked up a backfiring weapon. Also, your floating orb things can also pick up those weapons. Now that's also a blessing and a curse, because there's so little screen space. Again, you're kind of jostling for position, and you want to get this super laser going on the front of your ship, and you've picked it up for your orb and it's not as useful, or your orb has picked up a different type of bomb and you didn't want that, you wanted one that dropped vertically rather than firing forward. All of that to say, the amount of screen space and the type of weaponry, it does make it a little bit of a challenge and a bit chaotic. But the level design is good, the graphics are nice for what they are, it's fun, it's silly, it's cheap, it's just a kind of daft little blast like we were just talking about with Sega Rally. Obviously nowhere near the same peer level of that, but it's kind of a decent enough little play, and I'd be interested to know if it could actually run on a Game Boy. I think it's probably a bit excessive. There are things going on that I think, the number of sprites on screen, there'd be loads of sprite flicker and stuff. It was an actual Game Boy, which is a shame, because it would be nice to know that it was one that could be ported so you could play it on your original hardware. But as it stands, it's a decent enough blaster. It's under a $5. I'd say if you like that sort of thing and you've got a little bit of a yen for older stuff, then give it a go.
Yeah, that answers my question. So it's not someone's remade a game and to put it in a ROM format. That's there's a lot of solo devs do that, make Game Boy games and put it out on a compatible ROM. So it's a full-on, I'm assuming, PC release.
It is, yeah. I was playing it on Steam, so yeah, it's a full-on PC release. Doesn't look like it could, be ported across. But for what it is, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's not disappointed is the wrong word, but I think I'm with you. When you see something that's done in the style of a Game Boy game or Game Gear game, Mega Drive game, you kind of play them sometimes, or you look at them, you just I wish I could play this properly handheld on original hardware, or an Ambonic or something like that, rather than having to play it on a bigger screen or a fully up 1080p 4K screen, because sprite based games I think sometimes could do with the lower resolution, poorer screens.
Yeah, that's right. And it's nice to know that you can if you're using the original hardware, you can get it displaying in the way that it would actually be and it would actually look. So yeah. I mean, I like it when the new Mega Drive games come out and stuff like that, and they don't have the kind of restraint of having to be stuck within a couple of meg, less than that, half a meg or whatever, because RAM is so much cheaper, but they still look exactly the same, and it's what if a Mega Drive game, but 30 years later. It's nice. So it's a very silly purchase, but go for it if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I might check that out and have a look, because I do like the older shoot-em-ups compared to some of the more modern ones. I can cope with those a bit more. I say Defender's more my pace than whatever we get these days, than Darius G or whatever. I don't know. They're just too much for me. So,
yeah.
Moving on, something that's not a shooter or retro, but it is indie. You'll be surprised to know. I've been playing a game called SUMMERHOUSE, and if you remember, I really like just time wasting games like Townscaper, where you just build stuff and there's no real end game. Just drop some things here and there, have a bit of fun, just relax. And SUMMERHOUSE is one of those games. It's you get this 2D pixel art, beautiful pixel art landscape, and basically you go and you build houses that just look lovely and make nice scenes. There's just nothing to it. There's no rules to the game, no no goals, nothing. Just you go, you plop stuff down, you make it. It looks nice. You can take pictures afterwards, get some screenshots of it, but that's about it. You can do all kinds, do like houses that you lived in, little storefronts. I think I made a church because it looked cool near a beach. You get like loads of different landscape types. You get like beach landscapes, foresty, like woody landscapes, like mountain backgrounds, or all things like that. And you basically get a certain bunch of tools. You get like different walls, doors, roofs, bits to decorate out the front, that kind of thing. And you just you build, you plop it down, and it just looks lovely. And that is pretty much the quote unquote game. Just chill out and relax and build shit. And I love these sort of games, just the antithesis to playing like a Doom or a Balatro, because I've been playing tons of that, or even something that is relaxed but is still like goal orientated, something like Snufkin, which is absolutely wonderful, but it's still like you still not the stress, but there's still things you've got to do. Whereas this is just pop it on, plop a few things down, done. The only problem is, and it's this isn't technically out yet, so I have been playing it. Won't work at all on the Steam Deck. It doesn't recognise controls despite having a controller configuration, but it does work really well on the PC, on my desktop. So I've got a feeling that's something that's going to come with release day patches or whatever they're still doing, because it does say it's technically not out yet, but it's just it's a beautiful looking game that I'm just having a whale of a time with, just popping it on when I fancy just something to relax with. I don't know how much it'll be. I reckon it'll be a cheaper. I don't think it's going to be more than like a $5 or something like that, but
yeah, it looks absolutely glorious. It's a really gorgeous looking game, and I know that cozy games are such a genre into themselves now. It's great.
Yeah.
I think, it's a brilliant way to relax and just be taken away. Yeah,
and I'll say
really
like
good for the mental health.
Yeah, with stuff like City Skylines, I want like City Skylines with all the tools that it has, but just like let it be a digital paintbrush. I don't care about population control or like over the top. Let me turn, like when I've got a game like that, let me turn off the bits I want and don't want. And if I just want to paint roads and put houses on roads and stuff like that, let me do that without the smoke coming from this side is going to affect this part. Yeah, that's great if you want that challenge in a game, but when you've got a game like that, I just want the digital paintbrush and stuff like Townscaper, SUMMERHOUSE, this one, you've got the upcoming Islands and Trains. You've just had recently released Minami Lane, which I haven't tried yet, but I will, where they're just more just you be you. And I love games like that. And just, you don't realise how creative you could actually get when there's no rules, no guides, and just do what you want. It's beautiful.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's really good. Yeah, it's it deserves to have success. Yeah, keep me on that one.
Yes. But yeah, hopefully I'll know a price at some point, and when I do, obviously I'll update on something. So yeah, what's next?
Well, from my good self, I've been playing another throwback game that's actually new, and that's Berserk Boy. Which is it was a side-scrolling platformer, this one, and it's in the vein of Mega Man, I would say. Probably the X series more than the original series. And so it's 2D, obviously, 2D styled, and you control your bloke. He can't crouch because it's a Mega Man style game. And you work your way through these levels full of pits and spikes and jumps over chasms and fighting all these different dudes, and it's quite good. It's what the thing is with these games, right? Is I've played so many of them, and I've played billions of them over the years. Practically not exaggerating, especially as the 90s were basically just the platform decade, and everything on the home consoles was just geared towards it. And so I've played a billion of them. So it has to do something really good. It either has to be in a classic style, in a traditional style, but have amazing mechanics, and you don't really get both together, unfortunately, or it's got to be really innovative. And I've not really come across any that are very innovative. And this isn't, but it is incredibly tight mechanically, and that is so important. And what it does really well, so it has you go through the levels, and the idea is that you defeat the boss and you get an orb which gives you different power style, and that's just like the Mega Man games. You get different abilities and you can switch between them, which is great. What is brilliant is it takes it quite a few steps further than the Mega Man X games that I've played, and your abilities have all sorts of like lots of different abilities. Each ability has several different move sets associated with it, and you need all of them to get through the level. And some of them are also environmental, so they have to be used in particular levels, and you can revisit levels and use those abilities. So there's got a little bit of Wonder Boy 3, Dragon's Trap in there as well. And the best thing is the abilities and their use are very, very tight, very, very fun to use. So you've got like dash attacks, and you've got digging attacks, you've got uppercuts, you've got all sorts of stuff that is like classic Capcom, that's just been like not ripped off, just done in their style, but enough of it being very like, some of it is an homage, like he gets this fire ability which has also, you have big claws, and he goes what's it, Dragon Claw? I can't remember exactly what he says, but it's exactly what Wolverine says in the Capcom, X-Men games.
Yeah.
And so it's very deliberate homage in that sense. So it's got all of that really tightly developed. The graphics are fantastic. So the backgrounds are a little Spartan, but they're okay. But the character sprites are amazing. There's tons of work that's been gone into them. The artistry is excellent. The effects are really good fun. They're very anime. It's kind of pixely in the right way. There are tons of frames of animation on each of the actions. Gives it a ton of character. Really makes it feel quite expressive and impactful. So as a kind of newish game in that style, and you don't get your Gunstar Heroes or your Rapid Reloads or anything like that very often, it's really nice to have. And although it's never going to sort of break any new ground, it's never going to be considered an all-time classic, it does that style beautifully well. And if you're interested in that kind of game and you're disappointed by any of the recent sort of Mega Man stuff or Kickstarted stuff,
I was going to say, Keiji Inafune's looking at this guy, and if I released this, I'd still be respected about now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, precisely. So yeah, if you like that sort of thing, definitely pick it up. It's a really well done game.
Yeah, I the code came through for this one, and I was so tempted by it, but I've had so much on, I thought I'd pass it on. But it's on my wish list, and it does look fun. I like the Mega Man games, but I'm not very good at them. I don't think I've ever completed a Mega Man game. But it's one of those I like to play, even though I'm never going to complete any of them. But yeah, this looks straight out of the 16-bit era, don't it? It's in all the right ways, and it's got music by T. Lopes, who done the Sonic Mania music as well.
Right. Yeah.
So it looks like, you get certain games that look like they're part of this homage family, like Sonic Mania. This looks like it'd sit nicely alongside Sonic Mania if someone was to go making fake video games for a movie or something like that was 16-bit era, but they couldn't have the properties to use the original games, the IP. It looks like so spot on. Yeah, I'm glad it's good. I think I'm going to add this one. Well, it's on the wish list. I think I'm going to pick this up at some point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it does. It actually reminds me a lot of 32-bit era, particularly early 32-bit era. PS1 and Saturn stuff like Symphony of the Night. Where there was slightly more grunt, and it's really nice. It's a good one. I'm very impressed with what they've managed to do with it. Getting that tight mechanics is great. The last thing to mention is not completing them. Mega Man games are notoriously rock hard, but this has got like an easy mode, and it's got various difficulty levels, and they genuinely work. Because I remember there's some Mega Man games where I think the easy level is what I would call hard. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's definitely approachable as well, which is important.
Excellent, yeah, it is in this day and age. And to be fair, the Mega Man games, yes, they were hard, but they were still playable. That's something that I think some developers don't get, is you can make things difficult, but when you make it difficult and unapproachable, that's when you lose people. If it's difficult, but you can still just pick it up and play, that's a sweet spot there. Because one day, I might sit down and go, I'm going to try and do it. I'm happy to continue playing it with all the things you get now with, save states and everything. That, yeah, I might try it and complete a Mega Man game. But I know it's difficult, but I know I could just pick it up and play it because they didn't overcomplicate the difficulty. So, yeah, and if this fits in that realm, but with difficulty options that allow it to be even more approachable, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Good to see.
Yeah, I agree with all of
that. I'm going to have to take away the positivity now, though.
Uh-oh.
I know. One of my favourite games that I just absolutely fell for when it came out on the Xbox Live Arcade, or I don't know if it was XBLA or whether it was just or whether it was a digital release, but I'll say XBLA, was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I thought it was an absolutely fabulous concept. A single player game where you controlled two brothers, and one with one stick and half the controller's buttons, the other with the other stick and half the controller's buttons, to solve various different puzzles, get through. Lovely story, brilliant artwork, wonderful music composition going in there, and it was just a joyful game. It's been remade, and it's one of those remakes where you have to go, why? Why have you done this? Literally, you could have just... It's one of those where it should just be just a home run, where you just release the original game and, you know what, maybe up-res it a little bit, to make it work on 4K screens or whatever. Don't go and completely change the artwork. Adding co-op and stuff like that. It looks ugly as sin. I had to go back and make sure I wasn't having rose-tinted glasses with the original game. The original game's kind of got this soft overtone to it. It's almost like an oil painting in a way, like a 3D oil painting. It just has this beautiful look to it. It's got a kind of fuzziness to it, but works, allows everything to be soft. What they've done is they've remade it and they've sharpened up the graphics. Everything's got this weird hue to it and this weird... what's that thing where things sparkle around the edges and stuff where they're not meant to? But it's kind of got that to it as well. And it's... Yeah, it works and it plays and it's kind of plays the same-ish and single player. But they've rebuilt the entire thing in Unreal Engine 5 and it's pointless. I kind of, when I first saw it, I was like, yes, this is, I'm all up for more Brothers. I think it's a brilliant game. And but again, we go back to the emulation stuff. This is why games preservation of original games and emulation is so important, because I decided to boot this up on Xenia. And it was broken a bit on Xenia. It didn't quite load properly on the Steam Deck version, but it did load on my desktop PC. And I think that's to do with just, that's further ahead in development as an emulator. And it looks beautiful. Looks beautiful still, the original game, and plays really, really, really well. Yeah. Whereas this, it plays all right, but the charm of that game is the visuals as well, and everything around the gameplay. This has got the gameplay still great, but I don't know. I just don't, why? That's just my overarching feeling. Is just why. And it's reviewed well apparently, and I don't get it.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah. I mean, you know the answer to why, money. But yeah, it is disappointing, and you're so right. It's so important to preserve games. And I think, if you... The easy way of explaining it is with the Star Wars, enhanced editions, as they were called, or whatever they were called. What did they call them? The special editions, didn't they?
Probably, I don't know.
Yeah, I know you're not a Star Wars bod.
Wait, we're on about games or the films?
The films.
Oh, I don't know.
But that they added a load of CGI in the 90s.
I know it's got the really bad thingy monster. Oh, Jesus Christ, everyone hates me now. What's he called? Not Boba Fett, the other one.
Jabba the Hutt.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And they did that. Well, Lucas did it.
The clean-on fella.
Yeah. And the problem is that when you watch something that you enjoy and love, you form memories around it, and anything that it's built into your brain then, and anything that disrupts that, it stops becoming yours. It's not yours anymore. And there's a fine line with remakes, and the perfect example of it doing it right are the Tomb Raider games, the Tomb Raider remasters, remakes.
Yes,
because I've been watching. I know you played it and you reviewed it on here, and I've been watching it Twitch streamed because I can't be arsed playing them, but I am happy to watch them. And what they've done with them is absolutely fabulous, because they switch on. He switches on the original graphics, and you're like, yeah, that's Tomb Raider. Then he switches on the remastered graphics, and you're like, yeah, that's Tomb Raider. And it's just like, hang on, can they both be? And then you're like, well, they've taken so much care and attention to detail to make it look like your memory of it.
Yeah.
But improve it in all the ways that don't stop it breaking your memory of it. Yeah. It's a real fine line, and done so well. So I think the overriding thing is what people said ultimately about the Star Wars special editions was, look, fine, you can have them. I don't like them. That's fine. They're shit, but I don't mind. People can watch them, but I still want to be able to watch the originals.
Yeah,
and this is what they're taking away. This is the worry, and what we're worried about with Yuzu, that they will take away the games, and then the only version you'll be allowed, in inverted commas, is the one that they provide, which you also have to pay extra for, and it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it is an important Warcraft situation then.
Yeah.
Where you can, like Warcraft, they basically turn off the old game and put the broken, shittier looking version of the new game. So even if you bought the original game, you didn't get that because they updated it all server side, and you had to play the new version, and you lost what you actually bought. So again, this is why games preservation. You get other sites as well where they keep track of the old install files and everything like that. Now, unfortunately, Warcraft that didn't work because it was all server side. But again, you see why it's important, and I've got no problem. If they decided to completely redo this from the ground up and give it a brand new, good art style that was their own vision, I would be more okay with that. But it's just taken the charm. And reviewers, I'm not one to call out reviewers, but I get the feeling a lot of the major reviewers or those have just gone, oh, this is Brothers but shinier, so it's going to be good. And they've lazily reviewed it because I like, there are some games, I'm not a graphics whore by any stretch of the imagination. But there's some games where the graphics are important to the gameplay experience. You play, let's say you wanted to play Minecraft. Minecraft with realistic character models and realistic buildings. That's not going to look right. The visuals are important to that. And for something like Brothers, that kind of, it made you feel like you was playing a Grimm's fairy tale in a way.
Yeah.
And that's taken away now. It's lost that Brothers Grimm aesthetic to it, and it just feels like just a modern day. Not a modern day indie, because modern day indies are good. it just feels like look, we've got this idea to have two players controlled separately, and we're going to use the most basic Unreal 5 engine assets, but it's not an asset. It's like a couple of steps above an asset flip, because obviously there is some creativity in there. But it's just like they've decided to go, that'll do, and push it out. And I don't want to shit on this because I love Brothers, but do yourself a favour. If you've got access to the original release, get that in any way, shape or form, because it's better than this.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. And in a month or whatever, 6 weeks, where that Tomb Raiders come out and the Dark Forces remaster and remake has come out, you know, it's showing this sort of stuff up for what it is. And I think, you know, you really do need, even if you are putting a lot of money into the new version, you need to have that flip button where you can play between the original style and the new style. But that speaks of a lot of confidence. Putting it in there is like, I'm gonna prove that my version is at least on a par, if not superior. You know, you've got to have that confidence if you're going to do that. And clearly,
Halo's a great example.
Yeah,
you can play it in the original. I will maintain the shinier version is better. But the fact they allow me to do whatever I want and at a press of a button just flip between the two is amazing. And Tomb Raider does it as well. With Tomb Raider, I'm not as sure what I prefer. It's the same as I actually flip between the controller types as well, depending on the situation. But the options are there. I can have fancy graphics with old style controls, or original graphics with new style controls, or any mix of those. And that's great to see. That's what you want. This has taken away what I loved about the original, and I can't get that back unless I go other routes. And this is why piracy is still so vital these days, because games preservation, for every 5 people that are doing it because they want to play original games that they've had, or they have bought the game at some point, yes, there's going to be 4 or 5 other people that are doing it just to steal the games. But as I said, they probably weren't going to purchase your game in the first place. But at the same time, for every one of those, maybe you might get someone who pirated this game but goes, actually, I really liked it, I'm going to buy the next one. So there is some form of it. And I think the best way to combat piracy isn't to cut off the supply, is to make what you're selling so good, so value packed, that you just like, do you know what, I'm going to buy it because I know I'm going to get entertainment out of it. Whereas the next 360 era remake that comes out, I'm going to be looking at it going, well, it could be another Brothers situation. So, yeah, I don't know. And it's 505 Games published. The team behind it are called Avant Garden. And this is the only thing that they've got on Steam. So whatever they do next, I'm going to be already looking at it going, oh, maybe not. So, yeah, disappointed.
Yep. That is disappointing. Yeah, you want these things to be preserved, even if there's a new version. Yeah, you do.
I'd love to shove this in front of the kids' faces and go, hey, have a look at this. This is brilliant. I'll just go, I'll tell you what, look, we'll set up on the old Xenia or RPS3 and we'll give it a go now.
Yep, there you go. I
already own the games on both systems, so, you know, it's fine.
Yep.
I might even find a way to play it on the Nintendo system. I don't know how, but why not?
Just for the spite of it, I would. Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, it's a shame. I don't like. You know, it's still what I will say, because I like to finish on a positive though. The gameplay is still good because it's the same game. There's a couple of little adjustments that I think other people have noticed that I've not. So gameplay wise, that's still all there. So I would say, if you've never played it and you're not absolutely offended by the new visuals, then you might get something from it, because it still plays just as well as it did. It just looks ugly as sin. Yeah,
no, fair enough.
But But I don't know. I think that's me really. I've been playing a lot of Balatro still, and Snuff Kid, which I've just sorted you out for that. So you could let Mel play that, and you could watch it over her shoulder.
Yeah, my wife is going to be very chuffed. She's #1 Moomin fan, so absolutely.
Yes, I loved it. I absolutely like. It's really weird because I put in my my indie roundup. I said about sort of like when I was younger, I loved like all things like Thundercats, He-Man, Jason the World Warriors, Visionaries, all stuff like that, and then the Moomins as well. It was just like you couldn't have more polar opposites from the Moomins to all that lot.
No.
I think the signs of my non-binariness was always there because I never just went, oh yeah, boys stuff. I love the boys stuff, and I love the boys stuff only. Now, Moomins obviously isn't girls stuff, but it was softer, and in the 80s, softer generally meant for girls.
True. Yeah. Oh, it's one that everyone should discover. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful, and it stands alone. It's just its own aesthetic. Totally. Yeah, wonderful stuff. Lovely. It's a shame I didn't get into it as a kid, but I do love it as an adult.
Yeah, and we are looking now. I mean, as we said, like the start of 2024 is ridiculous. It really is. You know, the worst thing I've played is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons in terms of I think the worst thing that I've played. But even that, the gameplay's still good. It's just the visuals of it. Everything else has been decent to brilliant. It's just ridiculous, you know. Balatro is like that. That's just like I'm so made up for the developer of that because it's just got gangbusters. Apart from Nintendo, who have pulled it because they've said it's gambling.
Really?
Right, yeah. So, right before I go, I just got one little quick rant. Right, and it's to do with Balatro, it's to do with Nintendo. It all comes full circle. So. Nintendo, and I don't know if it's because it's EU or whatever, but I don't know if it's happened on Xbox and PlayStation as well. But basically, the one I know of is Nintendo. They've basically pulled Balatro from the European stores because they've said it's a gambling game. Now, there's no gambling mechanics. It uses poker cards and it uses poker hands. Okay. Now, poker hands, I call poker hands because they're mainly known to deal with poker hands, but the hands of cards that have been known for years and years and years and years. You know, 2 cards together is a pair, 2 pairs is 2 pair. You get 3 cards that are the same, they're 3 of a kind. They've always been, that is what it is. Not just in gambling circles. Now, the reason it's not a gambling game is you get small blinds and big blinds, but there are no things where you go, oh, I've got to put some of my money that I've earned into that. And you're not going, oh, a small blind is $3 and I've earned $5, so I've got to put my $3 into it to try and earn it back. A small blind is a score, a big blind is a bigger score, a boss blind is a bigger score. Onwards and upwards and onwards and upwards, you just got to beat the score. You're gambling nothing. All you're doing is beating the score by playing poker hands. No gambling. Okay? But they pulled it because it's gambling. Yet, what do they still allow on their store, Stu? Come on. Do they still allow FIFA with its Ultimate Team? NBA with its whatever it is version, My Team? They still allow outright games with gambling in them. Wunderbar.
Incredible, isn't it? What mental gymnastics they have to go through to justify that kind of decision. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, it's lazy, it's reactive, it's terrible stuff.
Now, I realise anecdotes aren't like concrete evidence. Now, I'm susceptible to addiction. I've never been a gambling addict because I've been able to stop myself before I even go down that route, and I won't gamble. And I can't see any gambling issues without. Someone on Reddit who is a gambling addict asked point blank beforehand, how much is there gambling in this? Because I do not want to be re-triggered and go down a route. Ended up buckling and buying the game and has said there's no gambling in it whatsoever. He does not feel any pressure. It doesn't sort of like hit any of those gambling bits that he has that make him want to gamble. If a gambling addict is saying that, that's what you need. That's where you need to take. No, now again, that's an individual. I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but for me, that kind of also just helps clarify my fault where this isn't. It's addictive. Don't get me wrong. Video games are addictive. You can argue that with anything. Every video game technically is gambling if you want to go down the route of banning Balatro, because when you play Mega Man, Berserk Boy, Sonic, Mario, whatever, you've got a number of lives. You're gambling those lives to beat a level. Are you not?
Well, yeah, exactly. There's elements of that everywhere. Yeah.
So if you want, everything's gambling. You know, you go to the cinema. If you want to go down, again, I'm not belittling like gambling addiction and gambling, because that is a very real problem. But if you're going down what certain organisations say is gambling, going to the cinema is gambling, because you go and pay your money and you're gambling that money to hope for a good film and to be entertained. You're not. You've lost that gamble. You've lost that bet. That's gambling, according to Nintendo. Buying a Nintendo Switch is gambling. Because you're gambling with your money that, one, you'll like the games you buy for it, one, that two, that it'll last, and three, they won't just take the games away from you down the line anyway. So that's gambling. But what I do hope happens is that this has brought enough press and attention to this game that when it's finally allowed back, people just go gangbusters and buy it. Because have you played it yet?
No, still haven't had a chance.
No. Again, part of me wants you to hate it because it'll be hilarious.
It would be. I've got to have a go just for that.
But the pressure's on now. I want you to come back next week. Go, no, I completely agree with Nintendo. This is ban this filth.
Oh God, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And this is going to mean nothing to you until you've played it. But I've just beat the blue deck on a black stake, which was like it just like hit a brilliant hand. It's not even about making the best poker hands. It's like building the best synergies and everything. So I was just like built up this thing where it was just like pairs were just doing damage after damage and just getting amazing scores. And it's just when you get those builds that it just works. It's so satisfying. Oh God, I'm going to hit the casino later. No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Well, I'm going to go to Miller and Carter because I want a black steak now.
Have you ever had blackened chicken? I know that's complete.
Yeah.
I had that. It was like, it used to hurt, but it was really nice. I don't think I could eat it now. I've got really off spicy things.
Oh no, I can take almost as much spice as you want to give me, to be quite honest with you.
Used to be able to. Honestly, I used to be fine. Blackened chicken. I mean, that was like, ooh, Jesus, wow, okay. But yeah, I can't now. The thought of it just makes me feel. Ooh.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's that old thing as well of, I have to pick my days when I want to watch something that's a little bit sad. I also have to pick my days when I want to eat something that's a bit spicy and not too late at night either, in case that gives me indigestion. So yes, old man, rats at cloud. Yes, basically it.
But yeah, so the moral of today, I don't know, I'm going Jerry Springer on this, but my final thought for the day is enjoy video games. Don't blame Brothers, the remake, play the original, and play Balatro, and still Nintendo games.
Yeah, it makes me want to. I've just bought one. Well, it makes me want to steal it.
So, if you use Yuzu, this is what I will say in all seriousness, okay? If you are going to use Yuzu for nefarious purposes, do it to corporations. Don't steal indie games. Okay, because the difference between one sale for an indie developer and one sale for Nintendo, EA, Activision, all of those, is night and day. One sale for an indie developer could put food on there, put dinner on the table. For Nintendo, it doesn't matter. They're still going to make billions. Okay, so if you are going to use Yuzu for nefarious, steal the corporation games and the AAAs, that's fine. Don't steal indies.
Absolutely. Don't steal from the working man.
Yeah. Always steal from the rich people, because screw them, because they still get the money. And again, we'll do this. I don't want to say this, and I've said this till I'm blue in the face. The argument of the developers won't get paid. They still get paid their base rate. They're still going to get laid off, even if the game does well. So
Yeah, absolutely. We're in a capitalist hellscape, and there's no getting out of that, I'm afraid.
Yes. Indeed. So only play indie games and buy them. That should be the moral. Screw AAA, only buy indie.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do most of the time.
Apart from Cyberpunk, 'cause that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, there's always an exception. There has to be an
Yes,
exception.
there's got to be an exception. But yeah, I'll shut up now because I feel myself building. I feel myself building. Stu.
You are building up the tension, yeah. So let's just diffuse that a little bit. So yes, that's the end of the podcast. So as usual, follow all of our content. Join us on the socials. Join us to chat on Discord if you fancy that. And in the meantime, until next week, stay safe and stay sane.